Appreciate you being here. We got lots to talk about today, but first, just wanted to ask Chief Winstrom to come up and give an update for you guys on the incident from July 5th, the investigation, and to talk to the community a little bit about Gallery Night upcoming on Friday. So, Chief.
Thank you, Mayor. We are 10 days now into the investigation of the murder of Philip Shepard Jr. As we announced on Monday, 16-year-old Kanye Walker has been charged with handing the gun to Nicholas Stafford. Nicholas was denied bond yesterday for his role in this incident. As you saw in testimony provided by a detective on scene, PJ's hands were in the air when he was right before he was killed, and the motive is something as petty as disrespect. There's no more impactful. There's no explanation that's going to make sense for the family of Philip Shepard Jr., but we know that his mom and those who love him are looking for those answers. And 10 days into the investigation, the detectives every single day have been putting so much effort into this. And you can see from the video release yesterday in the bond hearing the complexity of the investigation when there are so many individuals out there, some of whom were armed with handguns. Very thankful for the help that we're getting, especially from the ATF and other federal partners. As you can see, the complexity in the forensic evidence out there, and we're making real progress in getting those answers for this family. As the mayor mentioned, Gallery Night Friday, 5 to 9, Palafox between Main to Garden will be closed off. We're going to have a very large police presence there. We have no information that there's going to be any security issues whatsoever. I myself I'm excited to be down there on Friday, and we're looking forward to a very safe event. And if there's any questions, happy to field them.
Just to confirm, the 16-year-old is being tried as an adult, right?
That is correct.
All right.
Thank you so much.
Thanks. All right. First off, update on the Maritime Park Parcel 5 project, the Hard Rock Reverb project. We're excited to announce that that project is on and moving forward. And it's a $310 million mixed-use development investment in our city. We believe outside of, when you talk about market rate, commercial or mixed-use investment, I think it's the largest single private investment project inside the city limits. Obviously, projects like Baptist Hospital and things like that were larger, but in this form, we believe it's certainly one of the largest, and we believe it might be the largest in the history of the city. The developers have withdrawn their application for an ARA abatement at this time, and we certainly appreciate their understanding in responding to changing circumstances. Of course, the landscape of our community and landscape of our state right now, as it pertains to property taxes and how how we fund local government, and we're grateful for the value that they see in our community. $310 million project. It has significant complexity and significant risk, financial risk, and that's what makes projects like this so hard to have happen, and frankly why it is relatively unprecedented here. Is these are hard to put together, hard to get financed, hard to get to execution. So I absolutely appreciate the risks that are associated with that, and we certainly look forward to the future of the project. They are in right. Where are we now? Where we are now is permits continue to be applied for and approved. Some have already been approved on the project. The language in the lease describes that construction is required 45 days after all permits are completed. But I think citizens will start to actually see some movement that will start with some work on temporary parking lots that will happen this fall after the baseball season, the Wahoo's baseball season is complete. So kind of that mid-September to early October timeframe, you'll start to see some activity. That won't be vertical construction on the buildings itself, but you'll start to see some type of construction activity there. And, you know, again, I think this is a barometer of a city in demand and a city on the rise, that we have this size and scale of development and this amount of financial risk being bet on the city of Pensacola. And so again, we're appreciative of all of the people involved, the developers involved, and excited to say that this project's moving forward. Certainly want to acknowledge the 2 awards that the city of Pensacola has won from national conservation groups for our tree canopy protection efforts. The Arbor Day Foundation named Pensacola a 2025 Tree City USA. It's a 50-year-old program in partnership with the National Association of State Foresters and the U.S. Department of Agriculture. And the second is from American Forests, the oldest national nonprofit conservation organization in the U.S., recognizing the city as a tree equity champion city and for our tree advocacy efforts. So far in 2026, the city's planted 54 trees, with 30 more planted by December, and this is with the Tree Planting Trust Fund. Given away 253 tree plantings as part of an Arbor Day celebration. We expect 2 plantings from the Canopy Restoration Council scheduled for 26, and in 2025 the city planted or gave away 416 trees. So, and as you know, I've been working with Councilman Moore to help modernize our tree ordinance. What you will see is there's going to be some tree ordinance changes that are already being discussed with the planning board that will happen during the overall land development code review. But Councilman Moore and I are going to be coming back with some additional modifications to that as a co-sponsored item. But just from a timing standpoint, that's why you'll see an updated tree ordinance and then some additional updates soon following. Is just we didn't want to throw off the path of this 3-year project of the land development code, and we felt like pulling that out would cause some unforeseen and issues that don't need to be caused. So anyway, that's why you'll see it time out that way. But here are some of the highlights of what Councilman Moore and I will be bringing forward. There will be a $1,000 application fee for applications seeking removal of 1 or more 40-plus inch live oak trees. There will be inch-for-inch replacement requirements. There will be updated mitigation fees. That's already been discussed in the LDC item, the $1,500 going from the $400 to the $1,500. We're going to further modify that. We're increasing the residential mitigation cap if you're removing live oaks up to either 3,000. And by the time we hit, we may even go to 5,000 there. We're giving clarification on protected tree retention credits, and we're requesting expanded uses of the Tree Planting Trust Fund, including reasonable staffing, professional services, and all of that. Right now, it's very limited when it was put together way back when. But ultimately, if you want to have a good, solid tree ordinance and tree protections, someone has to administer those. So in essence, what has been discussed before not only isn't modern for today's demand and for the protection of our oak trees specifically, our live oak trees, but also it's really been an unfunded mandate for many years. It's been there's money coming in for mitigation dollars coming in for replantings, but we're at the point now with so many requests for permits, for all sorts of things, not just penalties, not just mitigation costs, but just day-to-day reviews that have to take place. And we're reaching the point where we need multiple staff members to be able to take that on. So I like the decision and the direction that we have something that is substantive, that protects our tree canopy. I think that's very important. I think that's why we're winning awards from nationally recognized organizations, because we do care about that. But with additional costs and additional procedure, there's overhead to do that, and so we're going to be asking the council to discuss the ability to use some of those mitigation dollars to actually go enforce the rules that are put in place. So more to come on that, but and we'll get you all the bulleted details as we get a little bit closer. Bluffs Park, you may have noticed the city staff's been tidying up brush and overgrowth around the area and the parking lot at Bluffs Park. We should be under contract with HDR for site surveying, a further detailed structural assessment, and some geotechnical work within the next 2 weeks there. Once the contract is finalized, HDR will mobilize to conduct a detailed structural assessment of the boardwalk and the related infrastructure. And again, that work should begin around August 1st. More of the timeline, we expect to have that survey completed within 5 weeks. And then the structural and the geotech will probably be more like the end of October. And so we're looking at about a 6-month process with HDR, with production design plans and all of that. So you'll start to see, we'll get really substantive in terms of action at Bluffs Park early in 2027. We're going to get all of these assessments done. But the question about, hey, let's get moving, as I always say, I couldn't agree more. We were grateful to get the $2.2 million from the state and from DEP, but as we've tried to certainly explain to citizens who've responded, we weren't able, that money that was awarded to us a year and a half ago, maybe a little bit more, or maybe 2 years ago, was not actually, we were not given permission to spend $1 of it until April 21st of this year. So I know citizens that don't bother themselves with procedure and red tape of the state, which I wouldn't either if I was in it. That is the delay. The City of Pensacola could not spend $1 nor lift one finger or spend $1 of resources towards Bluffs Park and this $2.2 million until April 21st of this year. So I can assure our citizens, we've been diligent about asking when the money's coming in, and since the money has come in, we've been working very diligently to get that going. So, to reiterate, if we had spent any money on that the project, it would not have been covered by those grant dollars. We would have had to find separate funding for it. So again, I guess the best way to put it is that's the blessing and the curse of grant funds. Is it's amazing to find them, because without them, there isn't another $2.2 million sitting around somewhere to use. But with that comes a little bureaucracy and red tape, unfortunately, and we're glad to be finally through that and moving along. E-bikes, the city attorney's office has been working on a draft ordinance for consideration by City Council. I mentioned this to you guys a few months back. Our local ordinance would focus on the Class 3 e-bikes, which travel up to 28 miles per hour and are significantly faster and heavier than the Class 1 or Class 2 bikes. And certainly at those speeds, they really function almost like motorbikes would versus a traditional bicycle. So, we want to protect our kids. We've had incidents here. We've all read about incidents in this county, in this state, around the country that are tragic. And that technology is a great thing, and sometimes technology outpaces the rules and regulations of the most important part of operating a city, which is keeping people safe. So that we're trying to put that back in balance with this ordinance. So we'll have a final internal review the next week or so. The only delay we've really had was we were waiting on what the state was going to do, and you guys either reported or at least saw that the governor had vetoed the statewide bill around e-bikes. So we were kind of in a wait and see approach to see what the state was going to give us. And so now with that behind us, we're back on schedule, and again, probably next week or so for internal review, and I guess potentially, I don't want to put a date on it, potentially it could be as soon as the August meeting, and if not, it'll be in September in front of council. The update on 311 and Penny, we've had 77 interactions with Penny, and that's only with calls right now that are held for more than 45 seconds. So if you call 311 right now, you still will be talking to someone live, but that helps us if we have a backlog. And 90% have been handled. User satisfaction's 93%. Anyway, off to a good start and trying to solve problems a little bit more efficiently and a little quicker. So. Reminder, Alice Williams, the ribbon cutting is Monday at Alice Williams, which will be a child care center there right across the street from Fricker on E. That's at 8:30 a.m. Hope to see you all there July 20th, so this coming Monday at 8:30. The Dunwoody Park playground voting is complete, and the project is the Old West theme of the playground, and we had a great event on July 3rd out there. I appreciate Tanya and Parks and Rec being out there to let the kids pick which playground they preferred, and so we like that interaction so much. Obviously, that's something that we want to be able to duplicate at other locations where this is coming up. So the goal is to have a purchase order on that playground at Dunwoody in August, so the installation schedules for fall of 2026, and that's part of our Direction 25 efforts. And the last thing I've got is just a reminder, we had how to do business with local government. This is one of the most common questions we get from contractors, citizens, and saying, hey, you know, I own a landscaping company, a construction company, how to do business with local government. These are the opportunities where you can learn all of that in a very short time frame. I appreciate Brian Wire for bringing this forward and always being a great advocate, and our city staff that is an active participant in these events. So there's one Monday from 5:30 to 7 here in this room at City Hall. And it's, connect and contract, how to do business with local government. I would certainly encourage everybody. It's hosted by the College of Business at UWF. So if you are interested in doing business with the city, the county, anywhere else, we're going to try to make it as easy as possible for you. That is everything that I've got. Happy to take any questions you have.
Mayor, it's actually a question I want to follow up on something the chief said, but I don't know if it's be for you or for the chief. But
Depends on how hard the question is.
I guess the chief mentioned about gallery night. Have y'all been getting concerns of people concerned about safety downtown at events like gallery night? And the chief mentioned stepping up police presence. What kind of?
No. I would say I will not speak for the police department. I'll speak for the mayor's office and say that no, we have not gotten an increased level of contact or concern, but. We understand the reality that this is a large gathering in the shadow of a senseless, tragic event. So we bring that up only to say, to give assurance to our community that there's a reason we're one of the safest cities in the United States, and there's a reason that we've seen crime decrease significantly, large double digits year over year. It's because we have an awesome police department, and we've got a great community, and so we just are proactively sharing that assurance that there's nothing that we are reacting to that has come to the mayor's office on that, other than this is the first large gathering since then, and we want to assure our residents and that they know that business as usual, and that our police department will be out there in force, but they can go have fun at gallery night this Friday the same way they've been having fun at gallery night every time they've been down there.
Mayor, on another note, excuse me, looking ahead to the November election, something on the ballot will be the local option sales tax.
Yeah.
So will you be able to just talk about what role that's played in the city of Pensacola?
Yeah, I'll preface by whatever the legal rule is. I'm only allowed to educate, not advocate. So everything I say after this is education only. What I can tell you is if any police vehicle shows up at your house or shows up at gallery night or any fire engine, almost any, was funded by local option sales tax. I believe of the LOST, I think 36% of the LOST collection of the city is spent on parks, community centers. Fricker Center right now is being constructed partially with local option sales tax. So how I can educate our residents is a enormously vital revenue stream for the operations and the amenities that you come to expect when you live in the city of Pensacola, which is to be safe where you sleep and to have quality parks, quality amenities. It goes into public works, roads, potholes, stormwater, you name it. It is an infrastructure and public safety funding stream that's vital for city operations and certainly county operations. So I was in a conversation with business leaders from around the 2-county area yesterday when we were discussing this, and it's a big number here in the city of Pensacola, but it's an even larger number in Escambia County and Santa Rosa County. Obviously, it's on the ballot for them as well. So again, what I can educate our citizens on is it is a enormously vital revenue stream to provide our citizens with much needed public safety and amenities and infrastructure.
And going off of that, what's at risk if voters decide not to renew it?
I wouldn't even know where to begin. I wouldn't know where to begin. Again, we've talked about if we should probably have a bumper sticker on every police vehicle out there, and that says that this is what it's paid for by your local option sales tax. We want to educate proactively. We want to show people, and listen. I think a lot of times when you're asking taxpayers, when you're asking residents and visitors to pay something, I think that's always the challenge to local governments is to say, hey, what are you getting for your dollar? And that's something that we at the city try to be very proactive in, putting up signs that, hey, Direction 25, $22 million of maintenance and overhaul and rehab of our existing facilities. And so we're trying to do a proactive job to let our citizens know that each and every one of those things that are funded. And I believe there's a Penny for Progress group that they have an interactive map. I think I just shared it on my personal Facebook page. There's an interactive map that if you're a city resident, you can go to. You can look at every single project. You can put in your neighborhood. You can put in Cordova Park, East Hill, Brownsville, or whatever, and then have it pop up where it shows you every single project that has been funded partially or fully by local option sales tax. So the question is, I wouldn't even know where to begin if that, but it would be in a. It would certainly be a huge hit to public safety in the city, and it would be a huge hit to infrastructure and our parks. So certainly, I hope everybody gets the research they want to get done. It's the reason this is the 5th round of it. It's been in for a few decades now, and so this is not a request of an increase. We want to be very clear. This is the maintenance of something that already exists. This is not above and beyond what's already in place now. So.
Mayor?
Yeah.
So you mentioned the Maritime Park project, and you described it as a historic $351 million market rate project.
Yeah.
Does it still have a live local component?
Yes. Yeah. Thanks for. I should have made that clarification. So, and 310 million is the rough number they've given us. Sorry. Yes, it has a live local component. So there will be some property tax abatement that is called for in the live local, and they intend to go forward with that part of it. So obviously, that's preempted by the state. That's not a decision, doesn't rest in Pensacola City Hall on that. And it's made to create affordable housing. So if that means if this development gets that live local abatement, that's because they've met affordable housing requirements that are in place to get that abatement. So if there's some level of affordability coming for the project that lowers rents to make it more accessible to more people, and they're rewarded with an abatement of that, certainly I support it. And so yes, their intent is to apply for the live local portion still.
So they're still waiting on state approval of that, which could conceivably alter the mix of market rate and then affordable units, and also in the ARA, the rebate request, they wanted to move some affordable units to market rate. And I think there was 5 of them they mentioned. Is that still in the deal, in the lease?
Here's what I'd say. At this point, there are not any substantive requests to amend the lease. Now, there may be some needs to amend the lease. For example, a new LLC set up in Florida where it needs to change names. We don't have to even do that right now. But everything that's been brought forward that would, at this moment, that would require a possible amendment to the existing lease that you've seen and that has been approved by City Council are ministerial. It's not a large change to what they want to build or anything substantive at this point. So whatever's in there is still required of them. And there's minimums in there of certain number of units. But the mix of affordable versus market rate on the apartment side, that's all a calculation done with Live Local. So if they decide to do 5 less units, and they haven't requested anything of us at this point. But if they change the calculation, the ratio of affordable units to market rate units, that has an impact on their Live Local request. But again, that's not an arena we play in. That's going to be between them in the state if that's the abatement that they want. So, so it would all be calculation based on the live local standards.
How do you see Live Local, particularly as applied to this project, being the catalyst for this project actually starting to come to fruition?
Well, I mean, I first of all, I think as proposed in the mix that they have now, that I mean, it's somewhere in the $10 million, area of abatement over the, I forget that exact time frame. I mean, it's, I don't want to misquote it, but it's significant abatement provided by the state of Florida, or this program provided by the state of Florida, to encourage housing affordability. So, I think it's a good thing. Obviously, we have a lot of units coming in, which is also a good thing in the city. Of course, you got the two projects happening on the old ECUA site and these. So. Listen, I think progress is a good thing, and we want to be as helpful as we can to make sure that this project gets executed. So, but as I said, as of right now, we have not been approached with any significant change to the mix or the intent of where they plan on going. As of right now, my understanding is, I think it's 99 of 190 or 198. I think it's half the units, the apartment units, are going to be proposed as affordable and live local.
So have they told you now where they're going with the adjacent lot? I mean, the adjacent lot that seems to be, they had said before,
right,
was going to be fundamentally key to them developing the lease line.
Yeah. Yes, we have conversations, and what I guess the only small update I could give to that is there's still the general intent to go the direction that you've already reported, and that's already been out there publicly. So there isn't a large deviation to that direction. That being said, while I don't want to speak for them, I can probably safely speak for all of us by saying we got enough irons in the fire right now on 5 that all of our attention and bandwidth is really on that right now. So we kind of have the development group's got a little eye on 4 moving ahead, but right now all of our conversation is centered around getting a $310 million project up and going. So I know they have not come and said they're not going to do 4. They have not come and said they're going to do something drastically different than what you guys have reported publicly, but we just haven't spent a whole lot of time discussing it because really on my side for 2 reasons. 1, 5 is a big enough iron in the fire, and 2 is when we start talking about 4, we start. I shared this with the development group. When I hear 4, I hear parking garage. So, and that's not necessarily a good thing. Meaning, it's just I'm willing to take it on, but that is a complex, expensive discussion to have about how do we make up the parking that you're going to build on, because the city has obligations to 350 parking spaces. So, if you develop 4, it forces us, the city council, the mayor's office, and everybody else to have discussions about how to put those parking spaces back in place. So again, I don't want that to come across that we're against doing it. I just mean that's probably why we're not talking a whole lot about it. Is I think when it is time to focus on 4, there's a lot of work to do in terms of solving that puzzle and getting it built, including with the parking.
So they're making payments on 4.
Yes. Lease
payments.
Yes.
And at some point they'll have to amend or extend it. Mm-hmm. So then maybe that'll be a time to.
Yeah. Right. I think everybody's willing to have the conversation. I just truly, I think 99% of our focus right now is on getting a $310 million project in the air. And again, I think it's good news today to say, and when we say we're an investable city, it's these projects that prove that. So we're going to help them get this thing across the line and go from there.
Just another question.
Sure.
I wanted to circle back to the 1 cent sales tax. You mentioned that the Fricker Center is partially funded with those LSD dollars. Are there any other projects or initiatives that come to mind that the city wants to use these funds for in the future?
Yeah, I would say, 'cause I wouldn't even talk one project. I mean, we're talking significant amounts of our parks and community centers were funded and are continually funded through LST. So if I'm a citizen in the city of Pensacola and I say, how does this impact me? The police vehicle that shows up at your house, the fire engine, if God forbid something were to be on fire at your apartment or your house, and whatever park that, and we have the blessing that every city resident is within 10 minutes of a park, and so to fulfill that, which is a heavy obligation, that having 95 parks and 11 community centers, and it is a heavy obligation financially and staffing wise to pull off. So you can pretty much bet, if you've ever interacted with a park or a community center in our city, some aspect of that has been funded by your local option sales tax dollar. So when you think about it in totality, public safety, infrastructure, your roads you drive on, the police and fire that show up at your house, and the parks you use, you can pretty much generalize it by saying every one of those is positively impacted and would be negatively impacted if it was not to pass. Yeah.
Mayor, the city has been posting on social media channels updates on the new Palafox featuring individual showcasing of businesses in Palafox. Did you approve that? Is that an appropriate use of your tax revenue?
Are you discussing the new throughout the project or during a specific time?
I noticed it recently.
Yeah.
Where the city of Pensacola goes into a private business and showcases it. They don't showcase the next door business or the business down the street.
Yeah.
Do you think that's appropriate?
I think it's appropriate that we fulfill the promise that we had when it was approved, which is we were going to put these specific businesses through a difficult time, and that there were dollars set aside and approved by our city council as marketing dollars in order to make sure that we represent those businesses during a difficult time. So I would actually go a step further and say I think it's the mayor's job and the city council's job and the city staff's job to prop up any business in the city anytime we can. In any location. So if we have an opportunity to do that, from an equality standpoint, what I can tell you is every business affected by the Palafox project has been offered that. So I don't want that to go unspoken that it's not an individual in the city's offices that's going and saying these business, asking this business and not asking them. That it was certainly equal opportunity in terms of who wanted to be highlighted, showcased, those types of things. So we of course would do that fairly in an individual project. But I think it's honestly such a great thing that I don't care what part of the city that we're in. If we have, for example, we have a significant stormwater project pending in the months ahead on Langley Avenue. If that's going to negatively impact any businesses on Langley Avenue, we like the idea so much we think we should do the same thing. So, we can't be all thing to thousands of businesses at all times. But I think the best thing we can do is when there's small businesses that need our help, that we step up and help them. I have small business roundtable meetings with businesses across our city every 2 months. And really, it's just, tell us what you need. And even out of that, I went and visited a couple businesses on West Garden that are going through all of the FDOT project on West Garden Street there. And that came up organically in a meeting, just saying, hey, small businesses, what's going on in your lives, in your world? And they're saying, hey, we're impacted down at West Garden. So, we went over there and visited a couple businesses and shared their story. And it was actually nice to hear. One of the business owners wrote me back the following day and was like, I don't know if it was the video I posted that you came or whatever, but man, we're busy today. So, that's a little success story too. So I think it's always our job to help advocate for small businesses, and there's just lots of different ways to do it. Yeah.
Mayor, one last thing here.
Sure.
I've been gone for a couple of weeks, 5 different things, but so the state of Florida passed a tax bill this year. I think it was 731, and part of it had to do with the thresholds of a vote required to exceed the rollback rate. And in there was a provision that said that taxing authorities, counties, municipalities, school boards, had to, effective immediately, had to conduct workshops prior to a public budget meeting that demonstrated how the taxing authority could achieve the rollback rate. Have you folks taken that on board? And if so, what's that going to look like?
We have not, administratively, we have not had much conversation about that. Obviously, when you start talking about workshops and budget approvals, that's going to be more in the wheelhouse of the city council, because it would be a city council workshop. Obviously, our office proposes a budget, but it's the city council's budget. So in terms of workshop, you'd have to talk to Don or the council members if there's any plan there. I would say most of the time that we have talked about the related issue, obviously, is we understand the new voting, the supermajority that it requires to change. What I can tell you now, obviously, we're finalizing the budget. Our intent is to bring a budget, not increasing the millage. And again, but ultimately, again, that's up to council of what they want to do. So, not trying to not answer your question. I just, on the workshop side of things, that's probably kind of more in their wheelhouse and something that they would probably have to be preparing for. Yep.
Not easy being a budgeteer these days.
No, it's not. Yeah, not very predictable. I can certainly tell you that. And we've already, we've had conversations with our supervisors and staff already about, some of the changes that we're, I'll have more to you guys probably next week on that. So I'll roll those out in totality. But we've already, had to start preparing for the unknown, the uncertainty that could be arising this fall.
Mayor, you mentioned the tree ordinance, and you said that there would be one of the things you are working on is the application fee for $1,000 for 40-inch oak trees.
Yeah, 40-inch or larger. Yeah.
Where did the 40-inch number come from? I guess the current code defines a heritage tree for live oak starting at 32 inches.
Yeah, obviously. Appreciate the question, because I should have given that detail. We've consulted with our arborist on what that number is, so we can get you the details of the science behind that number, but we did not just pick one off of a chart. There's the arborist does what the arborist does and says, hey, what is that fair size where you start to talk about a certain age tree, things like that, where you're going to see something that's like 40 inches or more. And so we deferred that designation or what that breaking point was to the expertise of the arborist.
Was it, I guess, even if it's, I guess, can you just give it the general idea of what age it would be? Or?
Yeah, again, it's not that we're not looking for this to be overly restrictive. I think I guess I don't want to speak for the arborist. I'll tell you what my general request was. My general request was, I think the most painful losses that we take in tree canopy in the city of Pensacola are these significant heritage beyond the definition that's in the code. I mean, when we just talk person to person, the truly heritage trees that have been here 100+ years, those are the painful ones to lose. So we want there to be, if someone's going to apply for that, we certainly want there to be intentionality and need to be in there. And frankly, I don't feel like the existing ordinance as it is delineates need and want. And so there's got to be, we have to ensure that if someone's making a decision to cut down one of these precious trees that make our city special. It's the parks we go to. It's Seville Square. It's some of our historic neighborhoods. Lots of our neighborhoods have amazing tree canopy, especially with these oak trees. And so I think this specific area, oak trees 40 inches and larger, while that's might be a much smaller percentage in the grand scheme of our entire city's tree canopy, I think that's where we all feel the pain, the significant ratio of pain, right? Of we don't want to see these taken down. We want to make sure that if they are taken down, it's done thoughtfully and it's done by need. And so we do not want to infringe on private property rights, nor can we infringe on private property rights. That is not the intent. If you can do a certain thing on your property, we still want you to be able to do that thing. All we're doing to modernize this is to say, hey, maybe give that a second thought before you, and make sure, and truly the cost, the reason the application fee's higher is our staff is going to spend significantly more time on a 48-inch oak tree than they are on a crepe myrtle somewhere, right? I mean, so there's true actual administrative costs to taking down a tree like that. Staff costs, time, all of that. It's just more complex than many of the other trees on there. So if a very small fraction of our tree canopy causes 95% or more of our concern as citizens, as lifelong residents here, then let's be intentional about it. So that's how we're modernizing it. And again, I would be surprised if there was any pushback on council on that. It's an ordinance that they have to approve. So again, when it comes time to bring those, those additional things, we'll give you all the details. But we just wanted to delineate because we've talked about that, and then you guys will see some land development code changes to the tree ordinance that were already scheduled. So we didn't want there to be confusion that was what we were proposing. There will be another proposal co-sponsored by Councilman Moore that will come to council that will include some of the things that I mentioned today. So we'll get you every nitty-gritty detail on it when we get a little closer to when that actual piece goes to council.
And then I guess if you're going to be creating basically this new category, I don't know if you call them like extra heritage live
Yeah.
trees, but is a $1,000 fee too low if these trees are this valuable?
Well, without nerding out on ordinance changes with you too deeply, there's an application fee and then there's mitigation costs. So I'll give you, just because of the line of that question, I'll give you one example of one thing that we're modernizing that I think is better for the citizen and for the tree canopy, which is right now if you were to cut down a 36-inch tree, your mitigation is that you have to plant 12 3-inch trees. That's how it's written in the code. Now, if you plant 12 4-inch trees, it's the same thing. If you, but I thought it was kind of rigid and not thought through that it be based on a 3-inch tree, right? Because if it's 36 inches that need to be replanted to save you from the mitigation costs. So to your question, you've got the fee, but then you also have mitigation, and if you don't do that, the fees are exponentially higher. So there, to your question, there's more potential costs beyond the $1,000. That's not what I think is the difference. I think, and there's other detailed rules, but one modernization we're making is instead of this 3-inch tree rule, so 36-inch tree gets cut down, you have to plant, currently in code, you have to plant 12 3-inch trees. We want to give the flexibility and increase the tree canopy faster by saying you can actually plant up to a 6-inch tree. So you can plant 12 3s or you can plant 6 6s. You can't go higher than 6 because we're worried about it actually taking and so on our arborist expert opinion, we're saying, hey, we're not gonna give you credit for replanting a huge tree that we are fearful won't last a year or 2 years. So you can go up to 6, but now the fine or the mitigation cost is $500 per inch instead of $1,500 per 3-inch tree. So what does that mean? If you put a 6-inch tree in the ground, we actually have the math on this. That will give you canopy years sooner than a 3-inch tree would, right? And that's the whole idea. What we're asking you to replant the trees so we can recoup the canopy, right? So when we say modernization, it's, again, I know that's heavily detailed, but that's the point, is we're trying to make it more user-friendly, but also make sure that you're thinking twice about making a decision that has a significantly negative impact on our canopy.
And then on Bay Bluffs Park, you said we'll start seeing activity there in 2027. Does that mean construction, or is that I guess exactly what it's, or is it going to have to go out to bid in 2027 once these designs are done?
Yeah, it'll have to go out to bid in the spring. There's assessment, detailed structural, and the reason is because what parts of the boardwalk can be financially efficiently reused and what parts can't. And until we know that, it would be short-sighted to go design something around the idea that you could preserve something that you can't preserve, right? So that's why, again, we want to be as urgent as anybody, but that's why these assessments need to take place. And someone could ask, well, if you did these, could you do these assessments before? Yeah, but it would be at taxpayer cost of which we have no funding allocated to do. So once we got the green light on April 21st, that's what allowed us to engage HDR and get that all within the grant funds to get it moving. So yes, we are actively moving on. And in terms of work, if you drive by there right now, you'll see, I don't mean that there's construction, but we're starting to get it cleared. We've got signage up, all those things. So bottom line is we're excited to finally see this, up and moving. It was another unfortunate chapter for this administration on the front end, which is having to find all these buildings with deferred maintenance and no budget to fix them, which were bountiful when I got here, including the building we're sitting in right now. That buildings, community centers that exist that literally had $0 allocated, something that none of us would do in our own personal lives, right? You got it. If you've got some long-term strategic planning, a roof is going to need to be replaced, an AC is going to need to be fixed, all those things. That's certainly what we do in the private business world, is you plan for those things even if you don't know exactly when. That wasn't necessarily happening, and that's why you saw many of our facilities either having to be closed or modified. And it's also how you saw Cobb Center get saved. Is because we opened our eyes and realized that we were on yet another deferred maintenance, zero budget path, and we were able to catch that one thanks to our team and get that one saved. So I hope this is I'm certainly at my wit's end. I hope it's the end of the era of opening our eyes and realizing how much neglect had taken place over many, many years of time at these facilities, and that kind of getting this one over the line is not only good for our city and good for the community. We hope this is kind of that final turn of the page that our eyes are wide open and we're doing a better job as a city of anticipating these things, so we don't have to, the next few mayors don't have to have these difficult conversations.
And you said the city's engaged HDR in April, but is that when you'll have those published reports?
I don't know when. Sorry, I don't know that when we engaged them. What I was saying is we weren't able to spend 1 cent of the $2.2 million grant until we got the letter from FDEP on April 21st. I don't know exactly what day, if it was April 22nd or if it was after that we had engaged HDR. I'd have to look, but we weren't allowed. We couldn't pay someone to work on Bay Bluffs Park using grant money until we got that letter on April 21st. So, and that's probably the most misunderstood aspect of any public conversation about Bay Bluffs. Again, understandably, people have got lives and kids and jobs to handle, but that's why we're highlighting that is, City of Pensacola has had zero capability to spend 1 cent of that grant until April 21st, 2026, until we received that letter. And so I just want to assure our citizens that while we are all patiently or impatiently waiting, myself included, to see something happen at Bay Bluffs Park, I just want to certainly clear the air and make sure the citizens understand it has had our attention and due diligence since we were granted the opportunity to spend even 1 nickel of that $2.2 million.
So I guess the public town halls y'all had about it, where HDR was there and people were writing on it, is that being applied to that?
No, but that's also why it was segmented out as that wasn't the start of a larger assessment. We did that separately just to ensure that that was one less thing we had to do when we finally got that letter. So that was just a small community engagement aspect, completely separate from the work and scope of work. All of that scope of work has been negotiated post April 21, but we brought on HDR as a that they're a consultant that we can bring on for projects like that, so we just brought them on for some of the small community things just to keep the conversation going. And again, that's one step a little bit closer to getting this thing done quicker, was not to wait on that. So we just had some urgency to have some community outreach and get their feedback. And I do know that already having that is certainly valuable to HDR right now versus that being yet another thing that we would have to do. And again, there will be more of that. But if you're a designer or anything like that, having a little bit more narrow of the scope of exactly what the community wants coming into it is always a good thing.
Yeah, so that work will be used to inform.
Of course, yeah, absolutely, and it's already in HDR's hands, obviously.
Here, one last question.
Yep.
Sorry about that. So, say there's a shortfall on funding, like if the LOST were to go away. What links would the city have to go to make up for those dollars?
Yeah, the LOST one specifically, heck, I don't even know where you'd begin because of the amount. I mean, that isn't a haircut. That would be pretty much a decapitation of significant revenue streams. So I wouldn't even know where we would start there. My guess would be, if you made me speculate to that, is we would attempt to get it back on the ballot as soon as we possibly could in 2 years. This is where I think the property tax amendment and the local option sales tax are very similar, is in the sense that and when the Wall Street Journal did an article, and I talked to the Wall Street Journal about this, they were doing an article about Florida property tax. I made it very clear, listen, whatever budget is handed to the city of Pensacola, it is my job and the city council's job to do it. So sometimes it's kind of sarcastically brought out as like, oh, well, if this happened, the sky isn't falling, we'll figure it out. And I agree. The sky isn't falling, we'll figure it out. Here's the problem. The problem is the citizen is unaware on both LOST or property tax of exactly what that fallout will be. So when it goes unspoken, especially in property tax, where it says, hey, do you want this good thing where you save money, but let's not talk about or analyze that potential bad thing, then I think if the property tax amendment passes, the next governor will spend the next 2 years, half of their first term at least, fixing the problems that we chose to not analyze. LOST is similar in that set. Will we get a budget approved and figured out if that happens? Yeah. I just don't think our citizens will like the answers that lie on the other side if either one of those things were to pass adversely against the city budget. Anything else? All right, guys, thank you.